I haven't seen anything officially on why we were chosen, but I would speculate that it was because I think the official reason was because Boeing was on one side and the Bremerton Naval Shipyard was on the other side, and probably a lot of other military installations like Keyport and stuff were around. And I think that was a reason for doing that. But I really think the other thing that expedited that was because we were isolated. We were island. We didn't. The only way you can get off the island would be by ferry. We didn't have the bridge in those days, so it became real easy for the Army to isolate us and to kind of use us as a practice run to see how people would react to something like this if they came in to force us off the island, whether we'd be violent or whether we would cause problems or protest or whatever. And since we went without any of that going on, then I think that kind of set the pace for them to do things. I know when I was at the National Archives, there were some articles or papers that I found over there that said from the U.S. Army that was sent to they said, next time you do this, don't use your fixed bayonets because it doesn't look good, was what the letter said. So, I don't think they knew what to expect when they came to the island. So our parents, especially my mother, they kind of saw it as focusing most on the children and protecting them, having them not have a bad experience, trying to make it like routine and like it was something that was just happening and didn't have the impact socially or racially or any of those kind of things. So they spend most of their time, I think, trying to make things as normal as they could and didn't really talk to us about the injustice or the things that they had to sacrifice by going through this. And of course, my dad wasn't around, so I didn't hear what he had to say. But I think my mom's main focus was just to make sure us four kids were okay, and I know it's probably very scary for them. I think in a lot of ways they felt really helpless. I mean, nothing like this had occurred before, and certainly the Watts riots hadn't happened, and no one had really protested, and I'm sure they would have thought they would have been shot if they protested. At the same time, I think the decision to go cooperatively has a lot to do with Japanese culture, because in the Issei culture in Japan, if you question authority, it's shameful, because then you're implying that your leaders are not knowledgeable enough or aren't good enough people to be your leaders. What you're saying is, if you protest against what they're doing and question them, you're saying you shouldn't be our leader, and and that would have been a shameful thing to do. So, and I think in a lot of ways it was very hard for Isseis to protest, and I think most of the people that did protest were probably second generation Issei that either refused to go in the army or to be drafted and so forth. So, I think there were very few Issei that would have been very demonstrative or would have been violent about that.